Another oil spill in Bodo, Rivers State. Women in Orashi region dread predicted flood. Estate surveyor defends routes selected for Port Harcourt Ring Road project. NYSC appeals for relocation of secretariat in Rivers State. Human rights lawyer faults use of vigilantes. Ministers set to take oath of office today as President Tinubu reassigns portfolios, appoints Niger Delta minister. On the foreign scene, California records first tropical storm in 84 years. Peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. I am Ifeemi Andrew. Environmental justice activist Fineface Dumnamene says there's been a new oil spill in Bodo community in Gokana local government area of Rivers State. Mr. Dumnamene, who is the executive director of the Youth and Environmental Advocacy Center, tells our correspondent that network members in the community said the incident happened on Friday. He now joins us via telephone this morning. Let's get across to Mr. Dumnamene. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Andrew, and good morning, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. So quickly, tell us what happened on Friday in Bodo community. Can you give us a brief explanation? We know there was an oil spill, but how and what exactly happened or led to it?
Yeah, our team in Bodo reported that a new spill has occurred in Bodo community in the area they call the Sugi area of Bodo, which is on the right of way of the Trans-Niger Delta pipeline and not too far from where other multiple spills have occurred over the years and over the months. And this particular spill, from what we have seen on the ground, happened at a place that is very grassy, crops are around, and you could see the spill pumping out from the ground. And the people discovered it on Friday, and it's been fenced around with a traditional palm front to show that this is where it has happened. Pictures have been taken, and the people are worried that this multiple spill will keep occurring, in this community, because we are even beginning to lose count of the number of oil spills that have occurred in Bodo. And the way we are worried, I believe that the community is also so worried. And I think we are going to take some more steps to see how we can see how to record that community with the Guinness World Record as the community with the highest number of oil spills in the world.
All right, quickly,
coming too many.
Because we don't have a lot of time. Quickly, the company that owns the facility, have they been identified and informed adequately with regards to that situation, and any steps been taken?
Basically, they operate that facility, the Trans-Niger Delta pipeline on which this has occurred. So you see allegation, and it's left for the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency to take steps to carry out the joint investigation visit that will expose every other person behind it, the operator of the facility, and of course the cause of the oil spill, which has been alleged to be equipment failure at this time.
All right, Mr. Dumnamene, thank you very much for the information. We'll keep in touch for any new developments.
Thank you for speaking with me.
All right, that was Mr. Fineface Dumnamene, Executive Director of the Youth and Environmental Advocacy Center. You heard him there. Another oil spill in Bodo City. As you may know, Bodo has recorded at least 5 oil spills in the past year, with 4 of them happening in 1 month. A report by the Joint Investigative Team in August 2022 showed that Shell spilled 5 barrels of crude oil into Bodo community. Moving on. Some women in the Orashi region of Rivers State are dreading the predicted flood in some parts of the state. As you may know, the 4 local government areas of Abua Udwa, Auda East, Auda West, and Ogba Egbema Endoni, which make up the Orashi region, are among the areas listed by NIMET to experience flooding this year. 2 women who spoke to our correspondent say their hearts skip whenever they remember that it's almost that time of the year when they experience flooding in the area. These women say they suffer hunger and ill health during this period as they harvest their cassava prematurely as part of proactive measures to protect their livelihoods from being washed away. They, however, called on the government to dredge the Orashi River to reduce the impact of the flood.
Some of the houses, they enter even up to roof. Our people will they suffer for this side once flood time reach. Sometimes you go feel they sleep with your pikin until before you go know pikin don't fall inside water. And that time, no way to go in Biama, go buy something. So people they die during the flood time. Well, we they suffer. So we they beg government, may government come help us. Now we have to sleep. May government come help us. Build one small camp keep for us so that we go fit stay there.
Children they sick, adults they sick. Make gonna dig the river for us. Let the river go down so the water no go come up like that. Now, sef, our BP don't high because of the flood wey dey come. October don't enter. Now we dey rush. How to dig cassava? The cassava sef never mature. We dey hungry, government make gonna help us.
A fisherman from John Kama 3 community out of the West Local Government area, Joshua Dokubo, also spoke on this.
If you fall sick, you are on your own. Last year flood, one of the women died in process of the flood. Why? No access to good drinking water, no access to good medicine, no medication, no hospital, nothing. You can't access anything at all. If the government can help us in terms of medication, food item, cassava stem, you can't even go out to fish again. If the flood submerge again, I don't think we can have access to the Imbiama again. Because when you are coming from Akinima to JK, you see that the road is almost cut off. So the Shell, Petroleum and the government should do something about that road.
Last week, the River State Flood Management Committee said plans have been put in place in areas likely to experience flooding in the state this year. The secretary of the committee, Ineme Aguma, made this known during a meeting with the chairman of the 23 local governments in the state.
The Ministry of Environment has commenced the mapping out of specific areas and study of terrain so that we would understand the very, very hot areas where we would need to evacuate people from. This would also include provision of certain materials to ensure that our IDP camps are in good condition to receive persons that are displaced. For some local government areas where we cannot site IDP camps, we are going to be hiring boats, houseboats, to house the persons that will be displaced.
She also spoke of other measures being adopted to tackle the flood situation in the state.
We want to ensure that we move our people to safety in the eventuality of any flood, and we want to ensure that we record zero death of persons during this flood season, and also to convince our citizens to be responsive to themselves, to move out when they are asked to move out, and move into secure places which the government and the local government areas will provide for them.
Meanwhile, the River State government is being urged to make preparations for a post-flood recovery effort to help flood victims recover from the disaster. Veronica Joseph of the Veen Voice of Rivers Widows and the Girl Child Initiative tells our correspondent that providing flood insurance and emergency management techniques will help cushion the negative effect of the flood on women in flood-prone communities.
After the flood, what happens to the women? The women were left alone. We all know that the women in the rural area are the ones that provide most of the succor for the family. They generate income through their cassava farms. But there should be a support for these women. Is it their stem so that they can go back to their farms? Within 6 months, they can have something to eat. But when they are being left alone, they live in hunger, in sickness, and in disease, which is not healthy enough for the life of the women.
She also emphasized the need for government to adopt a holistic approach to educating rural dwellers as well as building flood barriers to lessen the risk of flooding in the region.
I know the government, they are trying by making it, educating the people that people should take care because of the flood, but that is not enough. They should also go to the rural area. Most of them, there's no television, no radio system, means of getting information to prepare themselves. There should be an inclusive processes of passing the information about evacuation, also providing a route, evacuation route, emergency supply.
Away from that, a member of the River State Government Evaluation and Assessment Team, Ima Wike, says the cost of constructing the ring road across wetland would have cost the state government more. Mr. Wike was reacting to reports that the ring road was originally meant to pass through the Elechi waterside and not densely populated areas. Speaking with our correspondent on this, the estate surveyor and valuer said the state government and the contractor must have done a comprehensive assessment before taking their final decision.
I'm sure that the government would have done their environmental impact assessment to know where the road will pass. But having said so, let's start. Where did the road start from? From UTC Junction. The whole of that place is virgin land. Until you get to where they call it St. John Junction, it's from there that you now have properties. If you are talking about having a coastal road, have you also considered the cost of constructing a coastal road? Because it's going to cost you more to construct in those wetlands than in area where you have the solid soil. I'm not speaking for the government.
Mr. Imawike advised owners of properties earmarked for demolition along the right-of-way of the ring road against going to court.
You are going to court does not stop the government from carrying out their project. The project will go on. If at the end of the day you win in court, the government will pay you. If at the end of the day government wins in the court, they will pay you your compensation. But in that case, the essence of the valuer does not hold back the compensation money. It returns it back to the apparent authority.
Moving on, human rights lawyer Paul Nwakwala says the acceptance of vigilante groups like OSPAC by communities in the state is a sign that Nigeria is a failing state. Mr. Paul, who is the Executive Director, Legal International Society for Social Justice and Human Rights, spoke with our correspondent. The human rights lawyer said the failure of the Nigerian police led to the formation of vigilante groups by local communities.
The Nigerian police failed abysmally in the performance of their duties. And in every community, daily, we hear reported cases of wanton destruction of lives and properties. But the security indices cannot be looked at to fathom whether or not the country is affected. There are other indices that have to be looked into. I will say Nigeria is rather a failing state, but not a failed state. If security is the only indices, I will tell you, yes, Nigeria is a failed state.
Mr. Paul, however, expressed concern that vigilante groups are now acting beyond their roles.
I advise, quite frankly, that the Nigerian police have failed the populace. I do not subscribe to the modus operandi of these vigilante groups. These vigilante groups, they bear arms and cause mayhem against the citizens. The law does not recognize vigilante groups. Since the law does not recognize the existence, the law cannot also confer on them the powers to bear arms. The great thing a vigilante group in any neighborhood could do is gather intelligence, organize the neighborhood on how to live harmoniously.
Mr. Paul Nwakwala also called for a reorientation of officers in the police force.
There is need for the state security apparatus to go out and then retrieve all these unlicensed arms and ammunition from these vigilante groups. Then the next thing is reorientate the Nigerian police. How they could reorganize the Nigerian police? How the Nigerian police could be one that is of intelligence gathering. If there is a new consciousness injected to the Nigerian police, that these vigilante groups will not have any sympathy from the public to protect.
The coordinator of the National Service Corps in Rivers State, George Mfongang, is appealing to the state government to relocate the NYSC Secretariat from Marwan Diop to a more serene and safe area. Mr. Mfongang made the plea during the swearing-in ceremony of the 2023 Batch B Stream 2 Corps members deployed to the state. The state NYSC coordinator said his plea became necessary following the noise pollution and frequent accidents experienced by Corps members in Marwan. Mr. Mfongang also appealed for donation of an official lodge as the permanent residence of state coordinator. Earlier, the Rivers State Governor, Siminalayi Fubara, represented by the Permanent Secretary, Cabinet Bureau, Office of the Secretary to the State Government, Hamilton Amadi, urged Corps members to use the opportunity to rediscover themselves and harness their innate potentials by participating actively in all camp programs and activities.
My administration is fully aware of the needs and challenges of the NYSC scheme in the state and will continue to do everything that is necessary. In the light of the above, my administration will always take NYSC matters, especially the security and welfare of corps members, very seriously, and it's a matter of top priority of government.
Still to come, ministers set to take oath of office as President Tinubu reassigns portfolios, appoints Niger Delta minister.
The President, Board of Directors, the executives and
Eligbolo Youth Movement, Michael Amadi, has asked the church to continue to pray for the peace, unity, and development of the Eligbolo community. Mr. Amadi made the call when he led members of his executive for a Thanksgiving at Mount Zion Anglican Church in Eligbolo yesterday. He also thanked God for the peaceful election.
We're here to solicit for the prayer of church to assist us to pray for unity of Eligbolo community, because Eligbolo has gone far back. We want peace to restore in Eligbolo so that we can strive forward. And God is first. That is why we deem it necessary to make sure we hand over to God. He has made it possible for us to take over power on the 13th of August.
In his sermon, the vicar of Mount Zion Anglican Church, Eligbolo, Venerable Lucky Owunda, urged the leadership of Eligbolo Youth Movement to lead the community with the fear of God. Venerable Owunda also advised them against factionalizing the community.
Scripture says, they that trust in the Lord, they are like Mount Zion, which cannot be moved, but abideth forever. So you and your cabinet must lead in purity. You must show example. You must say yes when it is demands to say yes, and say no when it requires for you to say no. But if you align yourself with cabal and cartel, you will fail. I'm not asking you to fail, but you will fail. There is no partiality. Then God will help you.
Our correspondent reports that the Thanksgiving service was attended by the president of Rumokoro Youth, Kelvin Onwanwa, woman leader Amadi Eruchi, secretary Amadi Lizzie, among other dignitaries. Security has been beefed up for the swearing-in ceremony of ministers this morning. The ministers designate completed their documentation held at the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation in Abuja yesterday. Meanwhile, President Tinubu renamed the Federal Ministry of Environment and Ecological Management as the Federal Ministry of Environment. A statement by the spokesman to the president, Nugi Ngelari, said the president also appointed Abubakar Momo as Niger Delta Minister and reassigned Adegboyega Oyetola to the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy. Mr. Momo was initially appointed as the Minister for Youth. The Federal Ministry of Youth is to be reassigned to the minister designate soon. Bumi Tunji Ojo is the Minister of Interior. Saidu Alkali is the Minister of Transportation. Mr. Ngelari said both ministers of state in the oil and gas sector are now domiciled in the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources, with Heneke Lokbobri as the Minister of State, Oil, Petroleum Resources, and Ekberikbe Ekbo as Minister of State, Gas, Petroleum Resources. The Economic Community of West African States has rejected three-year transition plan proposed by Niger Republic's military junta. Recall that the coup leader, General Abdurrahmane Chani, had at a meeting with the ECOWAS delegation led by General Abdusalami Abubakar, retired in Niamey on Saturday, promised the military government would return the Niger Republic to democracy in 3 years. But ECOWAS Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security Abdel Fattah Musa says the proposal is unacceptable to ECOWAS, setting the ground for a military operation. Meanwhile, thousands of Nigerians flooded the streets yesterday declaring support for the military junta.
And now we'll bring you news from around the world.
Tropical storm Hillary is moving up through Southern California, where millions of people are sheltering under flash flood warnings. It is the state's first tropical storm in 84 years, already been called an unprecedented weather event by the Los Angeles mayor.
This is the news on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
On the news this morning, you heard that another oil spill has occurred in Bodo community in Rivers State. Women in Orashi region say they are dreading the predicted flood. Estate surveyor Ima Wike has defended route selected for the Port Harcourt Ring Road project. The NYSC has appealed for relocation of the secretariat in the state. Human rights lawyer has faulted use of vigilantes in Rivers State. Ministers are set to take their oath of office today as President Tinubu has reassigned portfolios and appointed Niger Delta minister. On the foreign scene, California has recorded its first tropical storm in 84 years. The news was edited by Choma Ezenwafo. Mostly cloudy weather in Port Harcourt this morning. To reach the news team, call, send an SMS or WhatsApp 0808 721 7215. Peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. My name is Ifeemi Andrew. Good morning.